So ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another highlight for today, which is, as I mentioned before, our solo insight session. Basically, this is a new session that we're just having this year, and it's a 15-minute, high-power, high-impact speaking slot, very similar to the TED format. And our speaker today is an award-winning, just forget how to pronounce it, Haitian American, is an award-winning Haitian American entrepreneur and startup ecosystem expert for emerging markets. She started her career as the founder of Vendetti, a social network connecting people to street markets with the aim of digitizing a $10 trillion black economy and centralizing the world's 200,000 street markets. Today, she is the director of the startup Grind Dubai, powered by Google, for entrepreneurs and a partner at the global startup ecosystem.com, which hosts the largest digital online accelerator program in the world, graduating over 1,000 companies across 190 countries a year. Today, she will talk about entrepreneurship without borders. Please join me in welcoming to the stage the partner at Global Startup Ecosystem, Ms. Christine Souffrant Ntim.
I'm going to try this again. Hello, everyone. That's much better. So thank you so much for the invitation to come here. I'm very much excited to be back in Dubai. The last time I've been in Dubai was actually a year and a half ago. And I'm very much excited to talk about a different spin and different perspective towards the conversations we were having today. Starting with the title of Entrepreneurship Without Borders. Because a lot of times when we're talking about how retail as an industry is being disrupted, sometimes we look to the innovators, the startup entrepreneurs, and how they're taking a different approach to changing how we look at certain industries and landscapes, right? Now, a lot of times the traditional entrepreneur that we think of, you might think of the techies from Silicon Valley. Those are the entrepreneurs that we currently think of today, right? How many of you think of entrepreneurs as street vendors? They sell products as well. By a show of hands, how many of you in the room have actually purchased from a street vendor before in your lifetime? Raise your hand. Close to everyone in the room. And these are the faces behind some of the street vendors that you probably never really thought about in this street food that you're purchasing or this item. But these are also a part of the retail industry in many different ways, right? And a lot of times, trying to get you to understand the story of a street vendor or a micro entrepreneur, you have to hear it from someone who actually experienced it. I myself actually was a street vendor once. And I'll start by telling you the stories of these type of entrepreneurs so you can understand the context of retail in a completely different way through my story. Now, I'm not sure if has anyone in the room ever been to Haiti before? One person. So I'm sure in 2010 you heard about the earthquake that took the lives of 250,000 people. It shattered media around the world. And a lot of times people show images like this one where they showcase the poverty, the story, the hardship. But they don't think about this street vendor who's on top of the rubble the very next day, business as usual. Now I know there's a lot of retail experts we heard speaking today. If you had a disruption on your site, maybe your VC funder just wasn't able to give you the next round of investments, shut down, business closed, that's it, right? But we had an earthquake that completely shattered the country, and here you have a street vendor, an entrepreneur who's saying, I'm getting up the next day, sell right on top of the rubble. As a matter of fact, they use it as a platform to actually showcase the work even better, right? And so this resonated with me very personally because I myself used to be a street vendor as well. I used to sell in the streets in Haiti, New York with my family, and this is something that's in my DNA, right? From 3 generations of street vendors, from my grandmother to my mom to myself, we made a living actually selling in the streets and becoming probably the truest form of entrepreneurship where there are no excuses when it comes to trying to sell a product or an idea to someone that you probably met for the very first time with no market research, no background analysis as to, who's this person, where they're coming from, just from intuition, from gut instinct. You're trying to persuade someone to purchase something. And I traveled the world to close to 40 plus countries around the world, understanding the patterns of street markets. Because a lot of times people think, wow, this is a huge potential of entrepreneurs that could really be showcasing their items in ways that we never probably anticipated. And people travel the world just to interact with people like this in terms of street food and street products. And so because they saw the potential of all these micro entrepreneurs, a lot of them think, well, let's buy the products that they're selling in the streets wholesale and sell them, online. Because traditionally, when we think of retail, we think of our shops, our storefronts, right? I'm seeing a lot of head nods. And retail today is something that everyone's talking about. It's like currently a $1.3 trillion industry in certain markets around the world. So this is the traditional way that we might assume to actually be able to connect with individuals today to sell our products, right? But I'm going to challenge that assumption because quite frankly, this chaos that you see here, this is the real future of commerce, despite what everyone is telling you today. Think of, the internet, the tech, the industry, but this is where $10 trillion is circulating around the world, where people are selling products, foods, ideas in completely different ways. And I remember when I was challenging governments about this concept, they said, well, eventually they'll get the memo and start selling their products online. Wi-Fi is actually changing globally. Currently we have 7 billion people on the planet, 3 billion actually have access to internet. What happens when 4 billion people come online? How will they sell their products? How will they initiate and engage you with their ideas? But traditionally, it's actually not just happening in just emerging markets. London actually boasts the highest concentration of street vendors from around the world. 100,000 people visit London Camden Market just to buy street products. But I thought we were moving forward. I mean, it's London, right? They should have probably the best retail shops in the world, probably the best storefronts, the best technical online, companies. But yet you have the highest concentration of travelers traveling to this country to buy products on the streets. So this is an oxymoron that we just cannot understand. How is this the future of retail when people are still connecting back to people the way we used to do it before? Well, sincerely, it's because now more than ever, as we're becoming more interconnected, it's imperative that we connect to people in a more authentic manner. Because behind closed doors, you could probably give a facade of what your company looks like and what you sell. But in person, we cannot lose that element. Because the street markets is not actually where you just sell products and services. It's also where you got information, where you got the gossip, who got married, what's happening in the neighborhood, right? So it goes beyond products and services. It becomes a way of life. And so this is something I wanted to present today is as we're thinking about the disruption in industries such as the retail industry, think about the entrepreneurs that are actually radically changing your industry in ways that you probably never even anticipated. Because a lot of times we think we're moving forward, but we're actually accelerating forward in a completely different way. Now, when I coined the concept of Vendetti 2 years ago, Vendetti means it's a vendetta for street vendors, where we connect travelers around the world to street markets, and we're currently the largest directory of street markets. And people didn't take me seriously, because the World Bank, as stated before, saw the potential in this industry. Government saw the potential in this industry, but how can this little girl who thinks that she understands the informal economy better than the experts? So I kept talking about it, right? And pretty soon, I was traveling to 40 countries a year talking about how street vendors actually disrupting our perception of retail and how we connect and how we exchange information. Then the politicians started to listen and the celebrities started to listen and they wanted to know, how do you know about this? How are you the only person that understands this off-market black economy? Where if you go to places like Nigeria and you think the GDP is at where it is today, the data is completely false. Because our data is not capturing this information. Today we talked about data and the use of data to understand the industries and the direction that it's going in. But how can you truly be informed if the data is not being captured in places where you need to know where it's happening, right? So I'd like to end by saying there are 3 things that you need to do to prepare yourself for what's come to come, right? Because I know there's a lot of different apprehension in how are we going to prepare for the future of retail today, right? First thing you need to think about is being an expert. And what do I mean by being an expert? We already see what's happening where today, if you're not informed as to what is going on, the person next to you could have less experience, but if they're more informed, they will get ahead. And that is the knowledge truths. So it doesn't matter what title you have, what background or connections, if they are more informed about what is happening tomorrow, that's it. And that could be the defining factor that sets you apart from your competitors. So become an expert. And some of the tangible ways that you could become an expert is anything from Skillshare.com, actually taking courses, right? Or Udemy or Audacity. There's now a global economy around trying to digitize how we learn. So that way you are constantly learning and being prepared for what's to come. The second thing is you need to be an engineer. Now this is very unique in the fact that now more than ever, you need to be able to create platforms in ways that you probably never anticipated would be possible. I myself actually learned how to code during my pregnancy because I realized that if I don't know how to code and understand technology at the fundamental level, how am I really going to be operating in these industries that are talking about the disruption of tech? Before, it was all just about knowing different languages maybe, right? Or being, able to market yourself in a certain way, understand digital marketing. Now people are saying you have to learn how to code. You have to know technical skills, right? And if you try to learn these random skill sets that you probably don't think it's really catered to you, you learn problem solving. Because as entrepreneurs, that's the first thing you need to do. As influencers, that's the first thing you need to do. So engineering your problems in a completely different way is critical. And the final thing I will say is be exponential. Now, this is by far, if there's anything that you take away from this talk, I hope that you remember this. The world is moving so fast that one move is no longer one more move the next day. Where usually we think we take linear leaps, right? Where we take one step today, make some small progress, and the next day we'll take another step and we'll keep moving forward. Now, things are happening on an exponential curve. We're seeing AI technology actually automate industries in ways that thousands of people will be jobless, literally within seconds. We're seeing that people are constantly trying to understand what is blockchain doing to these industries. And now you're seeing all over the media, even if you don't want to care, you have to. Because how's that going to change actual currency? But it's beyond currency, it's actually exchange of value that's changing. How we actually exchange content, information, and value systems. I myself actually spent some time at NASA Ames understanding AI, drones, robotics, genetics. I mean, people now are actually trying to modify their genes for human longevity. And if you don't think this applies to the retail industry, this is by far how we actually buy products and services is the core of economies. So if you don't understand how AI and all these exponential technologies are disrupting how your industry works, you might as well not operate in it because it's unforgiving. Technology doesn't try to select who they think that they're trying to be ready for it. It just disrupts. So you have to be ready for that. And so with that, I definitely wish you all the very best on your journey to understand this industry and how it's changing rapidly. And hope that you stay connected with me on this journey as I further push people's perspective as to how the future of retail will change by looking at the entrepreneurs that you probably didn't think of are taking a very big place in the retail industry of tomorrow. Thank you so much, everyone.